thing we want you tuned into every Saturday afternoon. I'm Elsa McGee, your host, and I'm here with my co-host and brother in Christ. We're gonna do some good trouble this month coming up, Tony. I'm so excited, brother, because we are here doing the same thing we've been trying to do ever since we started the show. Make sense out of a sensitive situation called the plight of veterans in the USA. And the USA with the plight of veterans. But now, Atlanta finna take over Piedmont Park. Veterans in Atlanta got some excitement about Memorial Day coming up. Now, we've been working on this 10 years, Tony. Mm-hmm. And it just all coming together in May. Yeah. Which is Memorial Day month. The mayor finally got on schedule. On the 16th, Friday the 16th of May, we'll be in Piedmont Park at 2 o'clock with Mayor Andre Dickinson doing a groundbreaking ceremony. That is, like the kids say, that's dope, really. Yeah. That's dope. I know you kind of excited, Tony, so I'm going to let you talk about...
I'm excited, but for me, my excitement actually is like Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
This is Christmas Eve. We're all ready to go, and we're waiting for that Santa Claus. Or we're actually, for us, we're waiting for those gifts to show up under this Christmas tree.
Yes.
And the exciting part about it, the gift is not just for us. Mm-hmm. It's for the city of Atlanta. And this is for 240 plus young men from Atlanta, Fulton County, that some of which I went to school with, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. are going to be honored for their participation during the Vietnam era and having fought and paid the ultimate price during a war. Mm-hmm. It's this. We want to celebrate. I'll put it this way. It would be great if we didn't have to celebrate a war. Mm-hmm. But since we have to celebrate a war, we're going to do it right. We're going to honor those people who paid the ultimate price. And so when we do the groundbreaking for this memorial, it's going to stir the spirit of all of those young men who paid the ultimate price, plus their families.
Their families.
Here's an opportunity that some families are going to, it's almost like a reunion. Mm-hmm. It's a gathering of the energy that we had when we went to war to defend this country, and now we're going to be given an opportunity to honor those who did defend this country but paid the ultimate price. I'm excited. I'm excited.
I'm going to tell you, Tony, like, it has been for me a journey of unloading survival guilt. One of my best friends, Louis Herman, I actually left going to Vietnam before I did. I went to his party, he came to my party, but he left a few days before I did. He got killed in April of 1968, right after Dr. King was killed. But I didn't know he was KIA until I got home. My family wouldn't tell me. It was. They didn't want me to know because I was still there.
Right.
And I hadn't got wounded yet, but I did wind up getting wounded in September of 1968. But the idea that I made it back home and Louis didn't was a weight, because I didn't have the closure of seeing him in the casket. I didn't have the closure of seeing that flag wrapped around the box that brought him home.
Yeah.
I just knew how he died. I knew how he died, and I knew what he was feeling. I know what he was Therefore, why did he serve? So that we could have the opportunities that this country offered. That we would have Tony, you got to remember now, when we left home in 1967 going into the Vietnam War, our communities were basically still legally segregated.
Yes.
So the first day we got in the military, we was in an integrated community.
Yep.
And that was a war within itself.
Yeah.
You know, the coming together in the same barracks, right? We lived up under the same barracks. We went to the same bathrooms. We went to the same mess hall. We was thrown together for the first time, black and white, in a war situation, black situation. And I'm gonna tell you what. Now, this is something that we got to bring up because some of the people on this memorial, that the 240 men was not actually killed on the fields of Vietnam. They were killed while they were serving in the military with racism, just straight up racism. You know, one of the things that I have experienced since being discharged from the military, I experienced severe PTSD because I'm diagnosed with PTSD, and because I was sustained head wounds, traumatic brain injury, which was a condition that actually derailed my life. I was 15 days after I got home from Vietnam, I was in a padded cell at Fulton County Jail because of PTSD. Yeah. Now, you might think it's funny, and everybody thought it was funny because I just got home from Vietnam, right? Yeah. I'm in Adamsville. Adamsville, new subdivision.
Yeah.
My family giving me a party, and they start blasting on Fulton Industrial, right?
Right.
So now I'm my head is still in Vietnam, but my body is in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I went to the floor and started hollering incoming.
Yeah.
Everybody thought it was funny because these are my friends that hadn't seen me in a year, and they had no idea what I had gone through.
Yes.
But they was laughing. I didn't find it was too funny, so I got my gun and I scattered them through. My reaction was, you ain't gonna laugh at me because you don't know what I've been through, and I was traumatized.
Yeah.
And there was no such thing at that point as PTSD. But now we know that 5 and 6 year olds are being traumatized in our community every day by gun violence and domestic violence. And we getting a better understanding of it. But what has happened to us, Tony, this generation, because of the PTSD and the chemicals, Agent Orange, that we was exposed to while we were serving in Vietnam, we were the fastest dying generation of veterans ever. And the problem with just being able to honor them with a memorial in the park ain't enough. It just ain't enough. So what we're doing, we're gonna put this memorial in the park, and we're gonna have all these 9 cities come together, because it's a call to unity for veterans in our community to first of all acknowledge, face the fact, then recognize these individuals and their families.
Yeah.
Because their families knew what they was going to when they gave them to service. That's why they gave parties and celebrate them going up in the service. They all of them feared the worst, but prayed for the best. My mom didn't want me to go, man. I tell you the truth, I could see the scene that she was cutting up a little bit because she didn't want the draft. But we had the draft. And we was honoring the draft,
yes.
Especially our community, minorities, working class people. We were conditioned to follow the law, right? That was the law. You got drafted, you go to, unless you want to run off and go to Canada, unless your folks had enough money to get you a doctor, so you could say you got bad feet and couldn't go to the military, but you can serve in the White House. Okay, wait a minute, I'm not going that low. But what I want people to recognize is that this memorial is a call to unity, because we got to work to have the community that these young men died hoping we would have. They could never really imagine war weapons in Oakland City, war weapons on Bankhead Highway, war weapons on Martin Luther King Jr., 14-year-old being in gunfights. It has been a tumultuous journey from where we came to where we're at now. And this memorial is recognizing in their hometown, right? Now these guys are on a memorial in Washington, D.C. and at Sloppy Floyd, but they had now that was in their hometown with the city seal, with the city mayor coming to recognize them, coming to recognize the sacrifices that not only they made with their lives, but their families made. Their families made. And, so we want to reach out to families, reach out to the families of these guys and let them know, like, listen, I know this is not a consolation for that loss, but at least you got some understanding why he died. Why he died. Yeah. Why that sacrifice for your family. Why that sacrifice for your community. Because I think about Lewis, man. He was one of the silliest friends I had. He was always making you laugh, right? But he loved Atlanta. He loved Atlanta. And, all of us, when we got in the military, where you from? I'm from Atlanta. From the, we wanted the best for this city. We wanted the best. We wanted the best for the people in the city, our families. We cause when we were growing up, some places you couldn't even go in Atlanta without being attacked because of the color of your skin. You couldn't go. They had just opened up jobs at post office and Lockheed's and all of these places. But then you know what happened? They drafted all of us. They gave us the job, and the next thing we saw was, here come Uncle Sam.
Yes.
And Uncle Sam ain't been true to his word, to his promise, to the veterans that served, to the families that gave them. Because they came home with conditions that derailed their lives. I'm going to say this, Tony. Our families was giving the military the best that they had. They was not giving them drug addicts. They were not giving them alcoholics. They was not giving them mental patients. But that's what they got back.
Yep.
And there was no entities in our communities that would speak up for us. Matter of fact, I was spit on. I didn't even want to wear the uniform because, Tony, the protesters against the wall, the protesters against the wall made me ashamed of the service I had said, I had done, and the loss of my friend.
Right.
I didn't want to wear the uniform. I didn't want to be seen in the uniform, except my dad now. He has a problem. He wanted me to wear the uniform so he could show me off. But outside of that, I didn't want to wear my uniform. And he would tell me, "My boy, I'll put you on." No, I don't want to put it on. Because of the way the country treated us. But you know what? We evolved in such a way that in 2012, a black president, somebody that looked like me, signed a proclamation. Oh, wait a minute, I'm talking about it. Somebody that looked like me signed a proclamation of 50th year of the commemoration of the Vietnam War. And our whole country started saying, thank you for your service. Started recognizing, we started building memorials all over the state of Georgia. but none like the one we built it around.
Yes.
It ain't on no post office. It ain't on no city hall. It's in the park, and it's an open air memorial where people can come and see these names.
Yes.
Anytime the park is open, you walk up to it and look at it. And you know what? Gonna be really satisfying, Tony. We are opening up right now. We got 12,000 slots in the foundation of this memorial. 12,000 slots where we are selling commemorative bricks. Right? You can buy a commemorative brick, put your name on it, somebody's name on it. There, I bought one and put my mom and dad's name on it because of what they had to go through with me.
Yeah.
I put my mom and dad's name on the brick in this park because of what I know they had to go through with me coming home, a returning wounded from the war.
Yeah.
That they had to deal with no help. And listen, PTSD is an awesome disorder. It makes you do the things you shouldn't do, the things that you wouldn't do if you didn't have it. And it took to 1980 for them to recognize that I was wounded in 1968. That's just show you how the country has responded. But now, our city is responding. My biggest regret is that Louis' mom and daddy was not here to see it. Yeah. That Arthur's mom and daddy is not here to see it. That their son, their child, that the person that they love so much, that they gave them to military service for this country.
Yep.
But we did it, Tony.
Yep.
You know, I mean, that's the excitement that I have now. I mean, it doesn't eradicate the survivor guilt that I was probably have to the day I die, because I saw too many of these young men die. I saw too many of them die, being killed. And but the good part, I got to know them before they died because I was with them. I got to know what they felt in the war. All we was talking about was coming back to the world, man, doing big things. We wanted a parade, We thought we had this fantasy that we were going to come home heroes and we were going to have a parade. We're going to give them a parade around Piedmont Park. We're going to give these guys their parade, their hometown parade. People from their schools, their families going to be there in Piedmont Park. In a park where one time we wasn't able to really, we wasn't even able to go over there because of segregation. And you know what? We got some problems today that the spirit of these guys going to speak out too.
Yeah. Because
of the racism that have infiltrated and took over our government.
Exactly.
Not just we see it more dynamic right now on the national level, but it's been on the state levels for a while. Yep. So when we look at the movements to start changing, first of all, they need to know them proposed cuts that they're talking about. We need to when we're calling out to all veterans and all veterans' families to say, listen, all we want you to do now is contact your senator and your congressional representative. See, one of the things that we don't want people to forget, we fought for the government that we had. Not for a government to be somebody coming in and change the government. We fought for a government that was going to be controlled by laws, not men.
Yep.
Now we got men that controlling the government that have no respect for the laws of the country. So they are ready to cut Social Security. They are ready to cut VA benefits. They are ready to cut education. They are ready to roll back every accomplishment that we have made since the 60s.
Yeah. And the sad part about it is that we got to speak up. We've got to we're going to get an opportunity. This is an opportunity.
This is an opportunity.
Not just for the memorial, but also to speak up against some of the things that are going on in our government today.
And compare what we have accomplished with the government that we got, that they're trying to change and saying that it's all bad. When we got some bad people working in the government, but you don't do mass firing to correct that issue. You don't start tearing down the government to correct that issue. What you do, we got laws the way you can straighten up people on these jobs, to make sure they're doing what they're doing. And then we need to make sure that at the VA and the Department of Veterans Affairs, we need a large percentage of the employees to be ex-military.
Yeah.
We need a lot. I'm saying 50 to 60% of people that work for the VA need to be ex-military or family members that, of ex-military, so that they would have some empathy.
Yeah. Some
empathy for the people that they are treating when they come to VA. Social Security. Talking about cutting Social Security is to undermine the economic foundation of people like was set up before our parents. Because a lot of the companies, the billionaire crew didn't pay retirement. They had no retirement program. I'm going to give you, for example, Atlanta Dairies didn't have a retirement program for black people. My stepfather worked for Atlanta Dairy 40 years. His only income when he retired was Social Security.
Yeah.
Only income. And he paid into that. It's not a gift.
Yeah.
So we need, for veterans and our families to understand that we need to stand up and speak out to protect the sacrifices that we made, individually and collectively.
Yeah.
We made these sacrifices for the country and government that's going to be for the people, by the people, and of the people. We got something right now that look like for the billionaires, by the billionaires, and of the billionaires.
Yes. Yeah.
And that means that grocery prices are beyond what you make, and when you pay rent and buy groceries, you broke. We need economic equity now in this country, in our communities, because lack is creating a crime that they use to have us scared of each other. They are using divided tactics by using our government. And they want us to sit back and be quiet.
Yeah.
We cannot afford to be quiet. Freedom is not free. These guys that we are raising up in their hometown, our homeboys, Tony, paid the ultimate price for the freedoms that we have. We can't let somebody come along and bamboozle us, bully us, or buy us away from this sacrifice. It's too much. We got to rally veterans, and that's what we're going to be doing with this platform. We're going into every community in Fulton County, and we're going to bring resources and information and energy into these communities and change the landscape. It's going to be better for everybody, because that's what these guys died for. They didn't die for the chaos that we see and having now in our communities. And we don't have to have it, Tony. Because, listen, you know, and I know, we didn't have nobody shooting up and down the streets in Atlanta when we were growing up. We did better in segregation with taking care of our community than we do now with all the money that we make. You know what I've been enjoying, Tony? I've been enjoying the draft. Just watching the NFL draft.
Yep.
Man, it looked like little black boys.
Right, yeah.
You know, just showing out. It was such a beautiful experience to watch these young men take advantage of the opportunity. Because see, when we started watching football, they wouldn't look like that.
No,
there wasn't nobody playing like that. So the progress that we made.
Yes.
Because of the sacrifices that these men here, these young men said, the sacrifice that they made.
Yep.
If it wasn't for the sacrifice they made, we would still be in Jim Crow.
Yeah.
Our community got to recognize this is a call to unity for veterans first. For us to start standing up and stop being so quiet. You know, we got to stop being so quiet. We got to start making time for the things that are important, that matters in our community. Our children matter.
Yeah.
Our children matter. They shouldn't have to go to school scared that somebody gonna come into school with an automatic weapon, with a war weapon, and kill them for being in school. They don't need to be in the streets where war weapons are. They're being traumatized, Tony. Worse than we did during the military.
Oh yeah. You know,
help me, Tony.
It's one of those things where, at this point, it's almost as if we're in the middle of a war zone, with all the weaponry that's on the street, which makes us uncomfortable to even go next door to your neighbor's house. You know, because you have no idea. Growing up, we never had that. That was not one of the fears we were afraid of. We were afraid of white people with guns, but we were not afraid of people in our community with guns. So that was not a fear. But as a result, now we're living with that fear.
And Tony, I'm gonna tell you a little secret, man. Gun was in my house, but I was scared to go towards, pick it up, and look. I even look at it long, right?
Exactly.
I was told not to.
Yes.
I was raised not to. My parents were not afraid of me. I was afraid of my parents. Because, you know, my mama was a little woman, but boy, she got a scrap. She got that scrap turned to me so much that I wouldn't even whoop my children.
It wasn't so much the strap. It was the look.
It was the look.
You know,
and the love, too, Tony.
The love, yes.
The love.
When it came to discipline, you knew if you were about to do something wrong, you could feel the eyes on you. And you didn't want to look around, because if you looked around, you knew the look you were going to get, it's almost like cowarding us down, but it wasn't, because it was us showing respect for our parents and our grandparents, all of those family members that were there to raise you,
to raise us.
Yeah,
they raised us, Tony. Because I was just listen. If I went down the street and did something crazy, started acting up, the neighbor gonna tell mama before I got back home. I was gonna get it, and I know it.
Yeah.
So, and my dad used to tell me, "You represent me out there. You better, you better act like it.
Yep.
I don't want to hear you cutting up, doing crazy stuff, boy."
Yep.
And I knew better.
Yep.
I knew better because I had to go back home.
Yep.
So I wasn't gonna be out there in the streets acting crazy. And my dad used to tell me, he'd give me a $5 bill when I left home. He said, "Put this in your pocket, because when your little buddy start going wrong, you better come home."
Yeah.
Because you can't tell them what to do. You don't need to try to tell them what to do. They go wrong, you come home.
Yeah.
You got cracked taxi fare. And when I got home, he wanted the money back. Step in the house, he reaching for it. Where my money? I couldn't tell him I used it because I ain't got it on taxi. So it wasn't like that. But this memorial, Tony, is something that's coming out of our generation, right? That was spewed by our values, really, and like you said, it was a divine inspired movement. Really, it is divinely inspired because we've been in the CBC with it, and man, look at that. We got some preachers up there. And we got to think about the preachers that started out with us that's no longer here, like Dr. Cobble, Richard Cobble,
right,
and Albert Love, who taught me how to participate in government.
Yes.
He made me. I'm out there holding signs for people in the elections. I didn't do no stuff like that, but Albert Love, a veteran, Dr. Cobble, standing a veteran. These are people that came out of the military back into our community to make a difference. And we still got veterans doing the same thing right now.
Look at the two of us.
Yeah, two of us.
Yes.
And then, look at, I can call his name in a minute. The brother over CBC, Vice President. We've been trying to get to come to the show.
Come to the show, yeah.
Yeah. We're talking. Both of us got a senior moment, so we'll get to him. But Caldwell,
Yeah.
brother working in the community every day.
Yeah.
To make a difference in the community at that Grace Community Church. Feeding people and trying to get people off of drug and alcohol every day, working in his community. And I mean, a bunch of ministers, Reverend Guy, I can just call them out, man, because they are working in church, they're working in that community. Now we got to get them to all come together. We just call for all of that to come together so we can have one voice, speak from one sheet of paper.
Yep.
We just gonna acknowledge, recognize, honor, represent, and protect our individual and collective sacrifices. And I want to thank Michael Julian Bond, man. I want to thank Julian Bond's boy.
Yeah.
a son of Atlanta.
A son of Atlanta.
A fighter.
Yeah.
A fighter.
Yeah.
A stand-up person, man, in politics. I mean, a community servant. This brother stands up all the time. Every time I've seen him, he's out in the community somewhere, doing something to do for the community.
Yes.
For the community. And then we got some other young men on
the other son of Atlanta, Mr. Arrington,
Marvin Arrington Jr.
Yes.
Bow-leg boy.
Yeah.
But they historically come from these pillars of our community that have always served.
Yeah, have always been there in the community, as you say, serving the community. There's no, if ever there was a challenge, you knew who was going to step up.
Who was going to be there.
And if they didn't step up, you go, where's Miss Arrington?
I'm going to tell you what now. I was out doing something the other day and ran across Dudley. Reverend Dudley. He was in one of the places I stopped to get something to eat and looked in there. Reverend Dudley was there. I had to stop and talk to him. I know I stopped and talked to him for this because he's an encourager.
Yes.
He's a brother that's in the community every day trying to make a difference.
Yeah.
We talk about all these ministers, man. We got to get them to come together too. They coming together at CBC.
Yeah.
We coming together to address this thing with violence in our community, these guns in our community. We got to get it. We got to get them out, and we ain't gonna get them out by buying them out either.
No,
so you ain't gonna buy them. You ain't gonna buy them out.
They can make them faster than we can buy them.
They can make them faster than we can buy them, and then they got the traumatized young men. Getting them.
Yeah.
So we got to do is work on the trauma. We got to work on the trauma. We got to bring love back into our community. First of all, we got to bring love back and get the fear and hate out of it. Because that's what's controlling the behavior that we see in our community every day. Hate and violence.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to talk about it, but we need to talk about this. This needs to become a table topic conversation every day.
Yep.
How are we going to get these young men to put these guns down? I they ain't got no business being afraid to walk the streets in Atlanta. They ain't got to be scared to go to a club. You ain't got to go to a club with a gun. That's before you leave the club, one of y'all gonna be dead. I'm tired of waking up in my hometown every morning with mama's crying.
Yeah.
Mama's crying.
Yeah.
So we got an opportunity. This is more than just a memorial in the park. And we want people to understand that. This is more than a memorial. We're doing more than honor them with a memorial that ain't gonna do no work. We're taking work, energy, their sense of service and duty. They had to have a tremendous sense of service and duty, Tony, to keep fighting when they were seeing people being killed
all around them. Yes.
So we're gonna take that same sense of duty and service into their communities where they didn't come back to. we're going to take that spirit in there. And we're going to change the landscape. We're going to improve the quality of life for everybody in the community. And I don't want nobody to tell me it can't be done, because I know it can.
Yes.
You know, you was about to say something, Don.
Yeah, well, it was, you said a call to unity and a call to action.
A call to action.
Because we grew up in a community where it was unity in action.
In action.
I can remember growing up in College Park and going everywhere within the community and never having a fear. That was the last thing.
Yeah.
When you were going somewhere, you were always concerned about getting there. You know, how long is it going to take me to get there, who I'm going, and what you're going to do. Never was there concerned about my safety.
The safety, no safety.
No.
We didn't have to have no gun.
Didn't have to have a gun.
Matter of fact, if somebody had to offer you a gun, you've been scared to take it.
Really? Yeah.
So we need to get that value back in the community, and the only way we're going to do it is work.
Yeah.
We're going to work. It can't be bought. You know, it can't be bossed. You know, it can't be bullied, and it can't be bamboozled. It got to be real. We got to take real love back into our community for our children to know what it's like to feel that love and protection, and not be afraid. So they got to get a gun. You got kids wanting guns.
Yeah.
Not wanting them, getting guns.
Getting them.
And using them.
Yes.
Every day. So that make the parents unsafe.
Yeah.
Because we got children shooting and killing their parents. This is Veterans Talk.
Yeah.
It ain't nothing but a thing, but it's a thing we want you to tune into every Saturday afternoon. And we want you to go to sonsofatlanta.org and look at the pictures, look at the profiles of these young men. Just click on the over 40 soldiers, right? Just click on it and look at the pictures, look at the profiles. Most of these young men died before they were 21 years old.
Yeah.
And at that time, Tony, you had to be 21 to vote. So they never voted.
Never had a chance.
We got to learn to vote for them. We got to learn to vote for them. See, one of the things we didn't do when the last election, we had too many people that didn't go to the poll.
Yeah.
So what we got in Washington, D.C. is a result of us not voting.
Yes.
You know, when you don't vote, you vote.
Yes.
When you don't vote, you vote. Like Reverend Love told me that. When you don't vote, you vote. You're giving the opposition a vote when you don't vote. And we're gonna have to say something else true here. When you're voting, know who you're voting for.
Exactly.
Know who you're voting for. Know what kind of character they come, because we got too many folks that we have elected to office to serve us that go in there and serve themselves. They're being bought off by lobbyists, Tony.
Yeah.
Bought off by lobbyists. You know, that took $25 million that was meant for the homeless. They spent it for the homeless, but they didn't serve it for the people.
Yeah.
$25 million. If we take $25 million, get the barracks at Fort McPherson, the barracks at Fort Gilliam, we can take everybody off the street immediately.
Yeah.
Take everybody off the street. They already got bunks, kitchen, bathrooms, everything you need to habitate, right?
It's one of those things where the facilities are there. We just need the people to operate the facilities, and they're available.
They're available.
We have historically black colleges in Atlanta that has social training for social programs that could operate the system that would result in these people not being homeless. The system is there. The people are there. Now that we got to get them all together, but we got to get, as they say, the monkey off our back, which is the federal government.
Right. Now, and the way we do that, we got to go back to how government works. Executive branch, a president is elected to execute the laws, carry out the laws that Congress make for him. He can't make no laws. An executive order is not a law that overrides legislation. In order to not make cuts at VA, Congress got to do it.
Yes.
So we gonna contact and confront your congressman, your senator. I mean, starting Monday, and every day until election time. If we see any cuts in veteran benefits or Social Security, we're gonna make sure those people that didn't vote or voted for it are not representing us the next time we get an election. We can do that. All we got to do is work on it.
Yes.
All we got to do is make sure that everybody go through what they done went through in Georgia. They done made it. Okay, you got to get ID. Okay, let's work now to make sure everybody got ID in the state of Georgia so they can vote when voting time comes. We got enough time to go in the communities to make sure everybody that's registered or able to be registered got an ID.
Yes. That are registered and have an ID.
Registered and have an ID.
Yeah.
That's our work.
Yes.
And our message is, if you cut VA benefits or Social Security, you are fired. Like you would do. You think he fired you. You're afraid of him. You was elected to represent the people.
Yes.
This is still a republic democracy where you are elected by the people to serve the people.
Yes.
Our government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. You can't just get a bunch of billionaires go in there and privatize the services of the government so they can discriminate against who get the services or who get due process of law. They don't get due process of law if they don't think so. Now that's a bad move. And for us to look at this in America this week, for a judge to be arrested by the FBI, that's intimidating the bench.
Yes.
But that's also a violation of the separation of powers.
Exactly. Yes.
So they done already throw due process, the rule of law, in the fire. And we ain't gonna let it burn like that. We're not gonna let it burn like that. We're gonna go to these congressmen and let them know they are not your boss. We are the people. We are the boss. We are gonna determine whether you stay in government or not. If you're not doing what you listen, Tony, I want you to tell people about your service because I know you couldn't do no junk like we're doing. I know I couldn't.
Yeah. No.
I couldn't. When you had a duty to perform.
Yes, but then you knew you had a duty to perform, and the thing about it, you wanted to perform that duty.
You wanted to perform.
You knew what was going to be the result of your action, so you wanted to do it. You wanted to make things better, not just for yourself, but for everybody around you. So that's why we served in the military, to make our country better for those people in our country. All of them. We're there for everybody. Politically, we may not agree with everybody, but we're there for everybody. We're going to fight to protect your right to disagree. But that's the nature of a constitutional government.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Tony. I had another veteran, man, Reverend Williams. He wrote a book, said racism was a disease. It was a disease. It was a sickness. And I'm kind of believing that more now than ever before, because you still got about 20 million people in America that's sick on racism. And they sick with racism. And you see them all in the White House right now.
Yep.
I'm just saying, with the demeanor that they speak to the public with, the kind of bullish attitude. We gonna do this here, that this is the way it goes. But it's illegal. Well, there's a criminal. Well, yeah, you're innocent until proven guilty. There's a process for the executive branch of government to follow in order to put people in jail to arrest them. You can't just arrest them because the police say they're going to be arrested. They go to court. The court can turn them loose the minute they get there. If their police have not observed their basic constitutional rights. Now we got a government of people that know that that's not our government.
Yeah.
Got people in our government that's doing it wrong. And we need to stand up to it because, see, if they can do it with one and they don't get checked, that means that they're going to do it again.
Yes.
And they got us hating on each other in such a way. Well, maybe they should do because they're in a game.
Yeah.
They say they're in a game.
Yeah. But a part of that attitude and what they're using is a distraction. If you can get enough people distracted on bull crap while they're undermining the government, undermining the rules of law. They're undermining the Constitution because you're distracted by that little chaos that's going over here that has absolutely no power.
No power.
Yeah.
None whatsoever.
So,
see, but the devil is a master of illusion.
Exactly.
And that's what we getting.
Yes.
We getting a lot of stuff that they throwing out there to distract us away from. And that way we're not moving forward. Now, and that's why I want to say this here, man. Michael Julian Bonds, he was not distracted with the drama that were thrown at him. A lot of people might have not noticed it, but it was thrown at him so hard the media picked it up.
Yeah.
And the man still would never say why he was doing it. He ain't, to this very day, he cannot justify what he was doing, except he was a racist that didn't want to see this done by us.
Yes.
Because he was so narrow-minded that he thought we were talking about a black memorial, not realizing we were talking about a veteran memorial. We integrated this country. We know how to get past our fears of each other and work with each other. And our children have learned to do it too. And you can see it on that draft. Listen, I was so happy to watch that draft. All these young men becoming millionaires, right? That's what was taking place.
Yeah. And
the schools was behind them. The community was behind them. White people, black people, Hispanic people, all of them was having fun.
Yep.
That would say, we're better together.
Yeah.
Our diversity is our strength, not our weakness. And we got to stop allowing people to separate God's folks. Because, see, I'm naive. I just believe all these folks coming to America. See, we were brought to America, so we were brought to America, but we helped build America. And all these people that's coming to America, they'll help building America. Yeah, you're going to have some bad folks coming. We got a system that can deal with that. We should not allow people to make us so afraid of people that we would stand by and let these people be abused under the law.
Yes.
Under the law. If we stand by and let them be abused, what you think gonna happen next?
Exactly. The bits and pieces of power that they're grabbing. The idea of taking a man out of the country and realizing, he wasn't guilty of what he was charged with, but we aren't going to bring him back. And that's unheard of.
And then, but now, see, they done did something a little worse. They done started taking American citizens out.
Yes.
Kids that were born here.
Yes.
Because they got this power of our government. They're using our government to do this, to do their dirt, to do their hate, to do their fear. So we got to understand. God ain't with this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just say that. I'm gonna just say that. So we got to realize this. If we don't get distracted,
and that's what a major portion of it is, a distraction while they're doing other things, undermining major portions of the government. The distraction about a citizen when they're taking financial rights from people. Scholarships.
Major right. The
Yes.
Department of Education. Listen, I was the first male to get a college degree in my family. Now I got 2 doctors that come out of my sisters,
Yeah.
right? 2 doctors because of the Department of Education. And I'm gonna tell you something, Tony. My sister was so smart. Then none of them folks had no student loan. They all got scholarships.
Yeah.
Cause you know what? She went to school with them kids every day. I said, if my mama had went to school with me, I'd have been a doctor too. I'd have been a doctor too.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what parenting did and what parenting
yeah.
should be doing now.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you something. Those doctors, man, are raising their children just like my mama raised me.
Yeah.
You know, because they come from my mama. These are my mama's children, my mama's grandchildren. And I'm looking at their children. They're some of the best in the litters. I'm going to North Carolina to the graduation of the first twins in my family. They finna graduate from high school. And both of them boys already speaking 3 different languages, man.
Yeah.
But the daddy is a doctor. You know, so I mean, it just it gets exciting when you start looking at what you have accomplished over what they have tried to keep you from doing. Because nobody and my dad didn't live to see his grandson and his granddaughter become doctors, and no, he didn't get that privilege, but I did. And I'm lucky. I follow them around like they all my children because they're my sister's children, and I'm looking at all of them. And I was in. They gave me a birthday party in Merrimack's. I mean, where all these folks come from? That's what my daddy would have said. Where all these folks come from? It was 30. I had 30 folks in there, and wasn't nothing in there with my children and my sister's children.
Really?
I said, my God, man, all these folks here. And they still growing. Some of them coming there with little babies. I said, oh, my God, where y'all coming from? All y'all coming up in here. I said, but I was happy because I'm their only uncle. So I get a little privilege, little privilege. I can talk to them, but we got to make sure that in honor of these 240 that we're talking about, Tony, the 240, that their family get the recognition that they deserve, the honor that they deserve, because they made a sacrifice that we could never feel. I mean, I'm glad Val is here because every year, I met her, I guess, 15 years ago. Every year since I met her, on Memorial Day, she raising up her brother.
Yes.
That was before I met her. Now, I ain't had nothing to do with her doing that, because I had a center up there on David Avenue after doing veteran stuff. And here come Val. You do know her. Then I'm going in her backyard now from then on. I think I'm going in her backyard tomorrow, right, Val?
No, the 24th.
The 24th, May 24th. I'm gonna be in her backyard again, because. But then this gonna be the last time we're gonna do it in her backyard. She gonna be from now on. We're gonna be doing it at Piedmont Park, y'all. We're gonna take over Piedmont Park. Cause see, I can remember coming to Piedmont Park. Now I met a young man named John Calloway, right? I think his uncle was somewhere in command at Fort McPherson when I was there, but. Callaway Garden family, Callaway.
Yeah, those deep pockets.
Those deep pockets. I got to meet John Callaway, but you know where we met at? Piedmont Park. He couldn't come. He wasn't going in my community. I wasn't going in his community. Cause it was still, we came out of the integrated military.
Yep.
But we went right back into them segregated communities with them segregated thoughts, and we didn't speak up when we was hearing the hate.
Yeah.
We got to speak up now, because we learned that we don't have to hate on each other. We're all God's children, really, so we need to understand that and recognize that. These 240 died with 58,000.
Yeah.
58,000 of our peers died for this country. And now we getting them record. We done started a movement that's gonna bring them back home in their communities and recognize them in community. I want to holler out to the Cobb County. They working on this same idea. They trying to do a county-wide thing for a memorial for all the guys in the Cobb County. Bring them home.
Yes.
Make the community understand what they doing, because every year. And I want to salute my grandson, Sergeant Freeman Harris. I mean, I see him all the time. He's pumping iron, man. You know, but boy, big too. But you know, he's at Fort Bragg. You know, where I was supposed to be going when I got back, but I was twisted. So they gave me TDY to Fort McPherson, where I know they got enough housing out there right now to get rid of the homeless that ain't being used. So the mayor got the idea. So we're gonna be talking with the mayor, and we're gonna be talking with the governor crew. We're gonna talk with Fulton County and all these cities. We finna get these people out under the bridge.
Yes.
I don't want to see it. Next year this time won't be nobody under the bridge in Atlanta, Georgia, because we're gonna work to make sure it happens. Mm-hmm. And the resources are already there.
Yes.
You know, Val talked with Clark College, Mercer University. All the schools are willing to help, right? Because they're integrated now. They ain't got the schools ain't got that hate. This man is trying to mess with the schools. They're trying to mess with the schools. They want hate to prevail, hate and fear.
Yeah.
And we got to preach against hate and fear. I mean, we got to make sure that all people understand. These young men died together.
We're not going to buy into it.
No, we're going to buy into it. No bigotry. No bigotry.
And slowly, the community is realizing what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And so as a result, they're fighting back. You know, no.
Now, and I'm going to tell you something, Tony. I want them to go to sonsofAtlanta.org too, and look at a little script that we did. You remember the script that we did? Yeah. We started talking about racism on the website.
Yeah.
With veterans. Now, this is all little veteran talk. Veterans talking to veterans. Mm-hmm. With white veterans, you know, and black veterans talking about racism. And we recognize that we got to all get along. Yeah. We got to cut the mess out. Stop letting people make us afraid of each other. That's why making us afraid of each other and jealous of each other, right? Because, see, we done moved in such a spirit of idolatry in our community that we value things over people.
Yep.
You know, we value things over people, and we done got people thinking that all what goes on is things. You got to have this, you got to have that. So a lot of people are living above their means on jobs that ain't paying them a livable wage. So that's a frustration. That's causing all kind of problems in our community. And we got to address these problems. And we're addressing them already with the program that we're doing with Vietnam Veterans of America. We're training VA service reps, right? We're training VA service reps to make sure that people can get the benefits. Billions of dollars are being slated from our community because people don't know how to get them. They don't know how to get them. We dealing with people that ain't never filed a claim before, and they're our peers. Never filed a claim.
Yeah.
So we're doing the work, and we're gonna keep it going.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing the work. We're gonna keep it going. In honor of these brothers that ours that have fallen. Only you shouldn't say so.
Yeah. But I lost that thought just then. Yeah. But a part of that is this memorial that we're building in Piedmont Park. That's all a part of us recognizing the differences within our community. We're acknowledged, you know, when we went to war, you went to war, but during the war, we recognized that we were all brothers.
Yes.
We were all willing to pay the ultimate sacrifice. Some did and some didn't. But those that did, here is our opportunity to honor them.
To raise them up.
To take their names, to copy their names off of the National Memorial in Washington, D.C., and put it on a memorial permanently here. Yes, it's in Sloppy White, but this one is within the community from which they came, where they grew up. They went to school. They hung out in the streets.
Yeah.
You know, all of those things. You know, here they are now. We're bringing them back home, and we're bringing them back home with honors. Yes.
And I want to thank Gene Kerr and Isaac Clark Funeral Home. They bought $1,000 bricks. You know, so you ain't got to be a veteran to buy a brick. You can be a business. You know, if you want to honor veterans, if you want to support veterans, go to the website. You can do it 24/7.
Yeah.
That's it today, Tony. You want to close it out?
Yep. So we're here every Saturday from 4 to 5 o'clock talking about veterans, anything associated with veterans. So if you got a point you want to make, join us. Go on the website, click it, and you'll go immediately to this site so that you'll be on the air between 4 and 5 talking about things veterans. So until next Saturday, we're going to salute our veterans and thank the citizenry.
Hey, there. This is yours. Now that's a talk with the superintendent.